All right, good. Oops. Yeah. Well, I get free drinks on these deals. This is a very nice studio. Maybe a little too pretty for a studio. And ginger ale. I never get ginger ale. All right, here. All right. Just give you an idea how pretty this studio is. Let me see if I can get this to unbutton here. I never pan this except when I do. All right, undo that. Okay, here we go. Yeah, look at this. Yeah. Declaration of Independence. Okay, and yeah, real nice woodwork. Mirror on the wall showing you this beautiful chandelier, and a Constitution, and Bill of Rights, TV, you know, another mirror, and this high-tech gear here, yeah, okay,
We just need a couple more minutes.
All right, I'm just getting the ambiance here.
No problem. Where are you going to be sitting him?
Right here.
Yeah.
So I'll put you across from him.
Yeah, it's fine.
Is that cool?
Yeah, I can do it there in the office, whatever. It doesn't matter.
You guys look like you're wired here.
Absolutely. Do you need anything?
No, I'm on. This battery pack is good for about 3 hours.
Oh, yeah. You'll be,
More than the memory of the camera is.
you'll be good to go. It'll be a relatively quick interview. Nothing.
Oh, okay.
No 60 minutes in depth.
60 minutes, eh? Okay. Well, that looks like a little better mic than I've got. So about like this, or?
You actually want to be kind of close to it.
Kind of close?
Yeah.
Probably within, say, 3-4 inches.
Yeah.
Well, it needs to be a little higher then.
Actually, no. We'll check it out.
Oh.
Where you have it right there is perfect.
Is it? Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
And get you all squared away with levels and all that in a few minutes here.
I love ginger ale.
Good.
So glad you had it.
Can I get you anything else?
Oh, no. That's
All right, it's going to be about 5 minutes.
okay, that's good. Yeah.
Just to tell you a little bit about us, I don't know if you're familiar with Phil's gang, but...
Did I interview with you before?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Maybe you have in the past with Phil, but I don't think so either.
Well, I'm a perennial candidate. This is my 3rd time.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, hey, Phil's game. Did I interview?
Well, probably not.
Maybe not. Okay.
And here's why. When I give you the history, maybe it'll make a little sense.
Okay.
Because the one thing that makes us a little bit unique is that, you know, our what I'll call regular job is we're actually a financial radio show. Phil has a nationally syndicated show that airs weekdays with Salem across the country, but that is a financial show. It really has nothing to do with Sarasota politics or anything like that. And what happened was a little over 2 years ago, when he first moved downtown and we actually moved the office downtown, we ended up getting involved in Sarasota politics. So in the process, we started a local show, which is only on the weekend on Saturdays at noon, on the same station locally, WLSS, that we air on with the national show, and WGUL in Tampa. And we've been on that for a little over 2 years now, doing what we call the special edition, which is the Phil's Gang show, but local only, and going after the local politics and that kind of stuff. It actually is now the #1 rated weekend show for as far as local shows go. But we are also on WLSS, which is one of the biggest as far as broadcast radius in terms of stations. So part of it is we have a really good station too.
50,000 watts.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it 50,000 watts?
Yeah, there's supposed to be something like that. And they're actually in the process of, there's some things going on with them where it's going to be a lot bigger soon, so we're being told.
You're frying all the pigeons on the antenna.
So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on us. And basically what happened was, the way that we got into the Sarasota politics was our own little mess downtown.
Our own little mess?
Yeah, our own little mess downtown. So basically, what happened was when we first moved into this building, and I'm just going to try to give you the very condensed version, so that way you're not caught off guard if Phil ends up bringing any of these topics up.
This building goes up 7, 8 floors, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe 10.
I think it goes up more than that when you get over to the condos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the next building will have unlimited height because the county's
Oh,
unlimited height. Yeah.
Well, what happened was, basically at the time, you couldn't rent out any of the spaces here. A lot of businesses had gone out of business. We had about, I think it was 13 vacancies just in this building here.
Oh, you owned it?
No.
You said you could.
Well, when I say because we actually worked with Costco,
okay.
the owner of the building.
Mm-hmm.
We actually ended up becoming us as well as some of the other tenants, but Phil was kind of, they used to joke around and call Phil the mayor because he was kind of the one leading the charge. And we helped them get things clean downtown by working with the police and all that. And then we've
Got rid of the drugs?
A lot of it has been a lot better, but I wouldn't say got rid of it.
Oh.
And it also goes.
You're still working on the homeless.
It goes in phases back and forth.
Okay.
But see, that's the other thing too. It's not just homeless. When you say working on homeless, you know, I think that's one of the big misconceptions.
Well, it's the homeless that put their homelessness in your face.
It's not that they're putting the homelessness in your face. It's people committing crimes,
Okay.
whether they're homeless or not. Doesn't matter whether the guy's homeless or not homeless. If he's over there dealing drugs.
Some of the things that they're doing are more annoying than criminal. Monopolizing the park benches and things like that. It's like there really wasn't a law against it, so they took
Well, no, but it actually goes further than that.
Okay.
Because, here's the funny thing, and we can, if you want to sit, we can go through the whole thing.
Oh yeah. We've got 2 hours here on the.
What happened with the when it comes to the city commissioners that are sitting there now?
Mm-hmm.
The Suzanne Atwell actually called in Pastor Tom Pfaff, who we didn't know. He's the head of the Sarasota Ministerial Association.
Mm-hmm.
We had no prior relationship with him whatsoever. He was informed what terrible people we are, how they shouldn't work with us, blah, blah, blah. He made the mistake of coming down and meeting with us anyway. We ended up getting involved with the Sarasota Ministerial Association because we actually help a lot of the charities out and work with the charities. And they did their own investigation over at the park benches from the perspective of the homeless. They don't care so much about the businesses and the condo values, which is what we were trying to protect.
Mm-hmm.
And their assessment was that the benches there and the feedings that were being done at the park were harmful to the homeless, not just harmful to the community. And the reason being was that after interviewing many of the homeless, they found out that they were drug distribution centers, that the food that was being given out there was not regulated, that they would rather these things be done through the Salvation Army, through Resurrection House, through Catholic Charities. And actually when the Sarasota Ministerial Association went to vote on this issue, they did what they call a supermajority vote. Every one of the board members, except for one, voted in favor of taking those benches out and keeping the benches out because of what it did to the community.
Who was doing the feeding? That was
several groups.
Okay, so these were like
well, but here's the interesting part about
agitators.
that. Not all of them.
Not
Actually,
all.
some of them we ended up working with, and they were amazing people that were trying to do
I
good.
see. Okay.
The church groups that were down there, and I'm throwing in some of my own opinion. Okay.
But it wasn't regulated.
No, it was not regulated. But some of the church groups, we actually started working with them. Like this one lady named Faye and her group. We also worked with David Rooks. I can't remember the name of his church, but we actually ended up getting them funding to help them pay for the feeding. Once we started working with them, we said, listen, please don't do it here. It's hurting the businesses downtown. That's how we get our donations for all of the charities. Let's do it somewhere that everybody agrees upon. We even tried to orchestrate having a building bought so we could set up a center to do it. And all of them said, oh my God, we had no idea, no problem. The ones that didn't do that was actually the Occupy Wall Street and the New College kids, who flat out said, well, we're doing this to stick it to the man. We're doing it because, Vern Buchanan's in that condo. We're doing it. None of the reasons anything to do with homelessness. So a lot of the stuff when it comes to the benches and all that, a big part of it, when you talk to, and it's not even just us, go talk to the new owner of Tsunami down at the end, the guy who just opened the business down there, and hear his horrible stories of what happened. Speak to the girls over at Starbucks or the girls over the end over here at Juno and Joe's, and everybody has stories of things that have happened. Go speak to the building manager over at 50 Central over here, and he'll tell you all the things that have happened over there. It really came down to safety. And a big part of it is, even if we don't agree on all of the issues of homelessness and how to solve it, at the end of the day, people here didn't feel safe, and it came down to, we felt the commissioners weren't listening and we had to do it ourselves. So we started working with the police, and the police were able to use what tools they had available, which part of it was getting them to trespass around the library and do that kind of stuff, and that's where, you know, they talk about you chasing off the homeless and allowing them to turn political, but you know, a big part of it too is we said, okay, fine, everybody's saying that you need a place for these people to go, which that's not even entirely the solution, because there's a small section of them that they're not going to go anywhere no matter what you create. But we said, okay, fine. We actually put together a deal to buy the Dream Center.
The Dream Center? The
Dream Center, which is over on 14th, 17th, something like that. We were working with Carolyn Mason from the county commissioner. And Phil was going to buy it, donate it to the city, and Commissioner Turner at the time, I'm going back about...
Couple, 3 years.
No, it was about a year and a half.
Year and a half.
About a year and a half ago. And at the time, Commissioner Turner said, we don't want it. The city doesn't want to have to pay for it. They don't want to have to fund manning it, even if the building was donated. And he actually went with County Commissioner Carolyn Mason down to Bradenton One Stop to try to work out some sort of deal to see if we could start shipping some of our homeless over there. Okay? So, and I'm throwing all kinds of bits and pieces at you just as it comes to mind, but you know, this has been a long process along the way. But that's how we originally got involved.
I see.
But then what happened is, due to the popularity of the show, honestly, things in downtown, are they perfect? No. They're tons better than they were. I mean, yes, people here are fearful that it could go back to how it was previously, you know, where we had the assaults over at Tsunami and...
Assaults?
Oh, the owner of Tsunami had just opened up his restaurant. He literally would... I have pictures I could pull up and show you, where he would have 40, 50 guys standing right out in front of his place, right? And they were making threats to him, stuff like that. Well, one night he goes to lock up his place. One of them was in the bathroom. He didn't know. He turns the light off. The guy ended up screaming, freaking out, runs out of the bathroom. He ended up taking a pen from one of the, I don't know if he took it from him or from one of the waitresses, and ended up like holding the pen to the girl's throat, and all kinds of horrible things.
Was he arrested as a result of that?
I believe that gentleman was, yeah.
I don't think so. Don't call him a gentleman. That's not nice.
Well, see, here's also the thing when you get into the whole homeless thing that I think a lot of people didn't understand. If you looked at the crowd that we were dealing with 6 months ago versus a year and a half ago, it was a new problem. It wasn't the same thing.
A new problem.
A completely new problem.
Really?
And what had happened was, if you went back when the benches were here and that whole thing was going on, you went over to the park, it was, call them homeless, vagrants, whichever side of the fence you're on, the one thing we could agree on is that they were there 24/7. You'd go out there, they'd get out of the Salvation Army at like 5, 6 a.m., they'd go sit on the benches, they'd hang out there, they didn't budge all day long. Varying ages, varying ethnicities, just a mixed crowd. When you go
Did they have anything to do?
What's that?
Don't these people have anything to do?
Well, as far as they can go over to...
Oh, I mean, if I was completely free and didn't have anything to do, I'd sign up and take a class, or I'd...
Well, there are... See, that's the thing that people don't understand. Okay, the problems we were having downtown, and it's hard, you don't want to lump everybody in like that, but we actually, in the feedings, we started doing some ourselves and working with them. I became friends with some of them. I had helped take 2 of them off the streets.
Yeah.
Todd actually, funny enough, we got Tom hooked up with Goodwill. He's somebody who'd been homeless in Sarasota for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
He became their model person that they flew to D.C. for the year. Because he
for a year?
No, he went up to D.C. at the end of the year.
Oh.
He went up to Washington, D.C. because...
For an annual event.
He was the person they picked out of the entire country as the big turnaround. He went and met senators, he met everybody, because he completely turned his life around.
I'll be darned.
I mean, he fell down a couple times. The first time we got him off, he went right back on the street, sold everything we got him and all that, but he ended up getting... And part of it was by getting out of downtown. That was a big part of it, getting out of this life. We got him hooked up with Lutheran Services that helped him manage his money. I mean, there are services out there, and there's a lot of good people that want to help. The problem that you have is there's a small section of the group. And the second gentleman that I had picked ended up being less than the other way. I learned that you should always do background checks on these people first so you know who you're really dealing with, because we had one that we dealt with. Seemed very nice. Seemed like he had just had a hard time and really, well, he was probably about maybe 60 years old, 55, 60, something like that. He had been very well known around town. Everybody knows who he is as far as being homeless downtown. Wasn't known as a troublemaker. Probably had been on the streets here for about 30 years. And so we trusted him. Long story short, we had an incident one day where he came in here. He used to have a drinking problem. You could tell when he had been drinking. This day he was pretty bad. And he informs Mary up front here that he had a gun in his back.
A gun in his...
A gun in his... He was holding like a little bag. And that he had a gun on there, and he had a fresh bullet wound where he had been shot, and apparently he went and got this gun because, you know, people were looking for him and that kind of stuff. So at this point, because we were close with the police, I called Lieutenant Commander Boyd, told him what happened. He said, look, let me know which guy you're talking about. He runs him, right? Well, during this process, they had picked out who the 20 biggest troublemakers were in downtown Sarasota.
Mm-hmm.
My guy was number 4 on the list.
Really?
And one of the things was having sex with a child under 12. I mean, there was some really horrific stuff in there.
That is naughty.
You know, so
yes.
he's probably the example of he chooses the lifestyle. I mean, we actually had worked with some of his family. He actually did have some family local. It was a niece of his. And she called us up one day and said he mugged me and jumped out of my car. And
his niece.
His own niece, you know, and that kind of stuff. So you have some that choose that lifestyle. And when we get back to what I was saying about how the crowd changed, what happened was if you went back about 6 months ago when he started having the problems down here, Tsunami, the restaurant at the end where the assault occurred, this crowd was very different than what was previously here. First of all, they'd come in large numbers, 20 to 40, not exaggerating by any means.
And walk into a business.
No. They would come down to the park or the library.
Oh, okay.
But they would do it about 2-3 times a day, not coming and hanging out all day where they just stayed there. Mm-hmm. There would be a large group that would come. They'd be there for 20, 30 minutes, maybe hang out for an hour or whatever. They'd leave. And it was like 2-3 times a day that they would come and do that. But all young. Mostly like early 20s, like 20 to 25 years old.
What was the point?
Mostly males. At the time, we had no idea, but you could tell it was a different crowd. So then, one of the homeless guys that we've been working with goes, oh, they're all buying the synthetic drugs at the library.
Synthetic drugs?
Yeah, he goes, you want me to go pick you up a pack? I'll show them to you. I'm like, no, thank you, I don't need that. He goes, yeah, they all have the colorful packs over there. You can buy the synthetic drugs over at the library. And then right after that, a report had come out that, I believe it was Clearwater, had put in a program where they were busing out their homeless people.
To here.
And they were sending them here. And a year and a half earlier, Jim Lample and I had gone in front of the city commission and had showed them a PowerPoint presentation of all the surrounding cities and what they were doing about homeless and their laws, and showing how they were all going to be coming here if we didn't start taking the same actions, and we literally were laughed at. And then here you have Clearwater that was busing these people here. And unfortunately, a lot of these ended up being younger, able-bodied drug users and a heavy criminal element with them. Now, lately, to be very honest with you, to me, we're not as active as we were involved, but just even going around downtown, I mean, there was a point where I wouldn't go out there. I wouldn't let my wife come visit me for lunch. I wouldn't, nothing. I don't think it's like that anymore. I think the thing is that now that the businesses are thriving and things are doing better, I think people are just afraid, meaning the business owners, that it could potentially go back. That now that it's not such a hot item anymore, that the commissioners will let up on it and they'll leave it alone. Because, you know, every time something happens over there, the ACLU jumps in, they back up one of these guys, and it turns into a whole political mess.
You know, I'm glad you told me this. Every now and then I come downtown, but I must come on good days because I never see any of this stuff. And if it were here I'd notice it if it were here, but I just miss it.
When you came here, you're saying that like a year and a half ago, you'd come down here and not...
It might have been 2 years ago. Because I come downtown for 2 reasons. To campaign, talk to business people because I want to get their input.
Sure.
And the other thing is, there's a shop that I like to visit, and it's called the Bullet Hole, and they've got all kinds of sportsmanship things, like targets and
Right, sure.
bullets and things, and also they've got an interesting collection of '50s trophies back in the day when it was all right to hunt, and now it's sort of not. But they've got this stuff from years and years ago, all these little stuffed animals, and, well, some of them are quite big. And it's interesting to look at that as kind of a historical artifact, so nobody's doing it anymore that I know of. And they've got some safes that you look at, you say, boy, if I had a gun collection, I'd want that. Of course, I don't have a gun collection, so I have no need for it, but it's interesting what people have. So I like to go to that store, and that store's downtown.
Yeah, I actually came under a little bit of fire at one point because, for myself, I had never been a concealed carry person or anything like that, but things got that bad here that I went out and got my permit.
Did you?
And I even said on the radio that that's what I recommend everybody else do.
Ah.
And that was when everybody else started freaking out, but that was my God-honest opinion on it at the time.
And you set off all the lefties.
Because, you know what? When I tell you that we were at that time, and again, I'm talking at that time, things have changed a lot. When I tell you we were abandoned by the cops, I mean, if you talked to the people in the stores, not just us, go talk to the girls down at the end, go talk to the ones that were over at Starbucks, they can all tell you many incidents where things would happen, they felt unsafe, they'd have homeless guys come into the shop, they would have them be drunk, disorderly, chasing off customers, the cops would come, nothing would happen. The guy wouldn't get arrested. The guy wouldn't get nothing.
They didn't tell the guy to leave.
Sometimes they would usually chase him out, but then when the cop leaves,
he'd come back.
He comes back in, and now the cop takes 40 minutes to come back. And that was actually one of the things with the new chief that she's supposed to be working on with us. Is that
why you keep your door locked?
That's why we got the security system. Yeah.
Oh, be darned! I walk up there, I see you in there, and then she comes up. Well, who are you? I said, I'm Pete. Well, who's Pete?
No, I apologize.
I'm running for office, and she doesn't know who I am. Oh, I see. I've got a long way to go here.
No, we
I know. She doesn't vote in the city.
Unfortunately, that is why we ended up having that put in. What was happening was we had an incident one time with a bunch of the Occupy protesters. Once they took away the trespass, they decided to come in front of our store. Or our location here, and the guy was putting his signs on the window, putting his tongue on the window. I mean, it got pretty bad. We ended up calling the police and all that kind of stuff. One of the guys tied himself to the post out in front of our place, and that kind of stuff. But so anyway, we've been pretty active in the politics. A lot of that for us has calmed down.
Did you photograph any of this?
Yeah, we have.